So, it's been a few months since I've seen the Super Mario Bros. Galaxy movie, and I've let my thoughts about it stew while a lot of negativity flowed amid the interwebs, mostly howling about there's no story, it's all fanservice, the usual cries about how this is symptomatic of the other de-evolution of cinema. Well, first of all, de-evolution was the thing with the other Mario film adaptation. Whole other can of worms. As for the second spin with the new adaptational approach, do I find all the criticisms overblown and, dare I say it, rage bait for clicks? For the most part, yes! And no, this isn't me being a fanboy easily distracted by jingling keys on a Nintendo-themed keychain. I did go to the theater to see Return of Silent Hill as well, and yeah, it being a mid-as-hell adaptation just shuffling through a by-the-numbers retread of Silent Hill 2 is the nicest way to put it. Let's tackle the accusation of this sequel being Nintendo fanservice, the movie, first, as if the last one somehow wasn't that already. Last time I was particularly impressed with how it blended in so much. The isekai from Brooklyn angle from earlier adaptations, Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, all on top of what still ultimately became a Rescue Peach Toadstool from Bowser plot, with a bit of character development for the plumbers mixed in. I still didn't consider the first Mario movie part of the upper echelon of video game film adaptations, but one had to admire the effort put into cramming in so many game elements and still weaving a coherent tale. Can I say the same of the second one? I certainly enjoyed it too, and still got a kick out of seeing new elements mixed in. I must confess my Mario knowledge is lacking. Since I kinda fell away from the games after Super Mario Sunshine, I swear, that game went downhill once I got to having to roll that giant watermelon downhill. Thus, the bits taken from Odyssey at the start, and adapting Super Mario Galaxy in general, probably didn't feel as rehashy to me as they did to others. Even so, I still knew the gist about the Galaxy games, even how the Mushroom Kingdom castle was yanked right out of the ground, and when Bowser Jr.'s ship cast a shadow over the castle, I still got some Independence Day oh shit vibes. In fact, while I was sitting there in the theater, I got hit with a lot of hot damn moments, whether it involved an element I was familiar with or not. Another good example toward the climax, which brought in a classic moment from Super Mario Bros. And I correctly guessed a twist I knew about from Mario's DS games was coming, and I still got the chills. That's not to say I didn't appreciate bits made to appeal to crusty old Xennials like myself, such as the scene with Super Mario Bros. 2 enemies. If only my old pal Fry Guy had made an appearance too! I miss those guys who fry and, stuff. Of course, once upon a time I would have expected an entire second Mario movie to be all about Wart and Subcon, or at least do a Super Mario Bros. 3 and World kind of thing with the Koopalings and such. But perhaps the reason I went and enjoyed this film more than I should have is that I'd already accepted that this series wasn't made solely for 40-somethings like me, who grew up during the franchise's beginnings. Super Mario Bros. Is a multi-generational phenomenon, and it would have been stupid to expect these films to focus only on the games I would have had more nostalgia for. On the flip side, I've heard some critics compare this to stuff like Paw Patrol in terms of being made with kids in mind. Now that's unfair. I've been subjected to the mind poison that is Paw Patrol in hospital waiting rooms and the like, and this movie is nowhere near that level of saccharine. Again, this movie had a lot of oh shit moments and a palpable sense of dread for several stretches. I was never bored, yet it never really felt like I was being talked down to like a child, as if the filmmakers were afraid that the audience's attention span would evaporate if the action slowed down. That's not to say I don't have criticisms. One big magnet for cynicism was Fox McCloud's inclusion. While it turned out Fox was more than a brief cameo appearance and played a big part of the film's third act, there's no denying his addition didn't mesh as well as Donkey Kong's in the previous film. Speaking of that last one thing I really appreciated about it was the plumbers themselves having character arcs and tangible development, as opposed to them being typical everymen in the games. While it was great to now see the bros having more confidence and step things up, jumping and throwing hands like in the games, it now felt like their development as people had stalled somewhat. There was little to explore outside of Mario's growing affection for the princess, and Bowser's character arc was, let's face it, all over the place. I suppose one could make an argument that there was an overarching theme to the Super Mario Galaxy movie about the influence of family in regards to how the Mario Brothers progress and how Bowser ultimately regresses. But it feels like trying to squint real hard and make that a thing. And ultimately, do we really need to? Many argue that these films pale in comparison to the Sonic movie adaptations, but that's an unfair comparison. The Sonic games came primed to be more focused on deep narrative arcs, what with the jump to 3D in Sonic Adventure telling a tale from 6 different points of view, while going ham with cinematics and voice acting. Hell, I'd argue even back with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you got some of the best visual storytelling at the time outside of Super Metroid. For Mario games, you have to go to the RPGs for meatier storytelling, and again, the plumbers themselves still don't get too much development. At the end of the day, I'm glad both these movie franchises exist, both having a distinctive and consistent style, emphasis on the consistency. Remember how Mortal Kombat went to pot with the follow-up to the 1995 original? Then there was the original Silent Hill, followed up by the ho-hum revelation that sacrificed compelling cinema for greater lore accuracy. And even when the original director just stepped back in the saddle, the result wasn't all that good. So yeah, Super Mario Galaxy movie has flaws, but I still enjoyed it, maybe a little bit more than the original thanks to that off-the-hook third act. It didn't matter if it drew more from Mario games that I was personally unfamiliar with, it was still a blast with crazy good animation. 7.5 out of 10.